Welcome to the Tomes and Tropes podcast where books and friendships collide. I'm Becca.
And I'm Keri, and we're two friends who love to talk about books. And today we are going to be talking about the second book in the Letters of Enchantment series, Ruthless Vows. And we are specifically talking about part 3.
Yes. Even though this book is a YA fantasy, there are some mature themes throughout, so please check our show notes / description for trigger warnings for this episode specifically. If you want any additional details about the whole book or the whole series, check out our book bait episode about Divine Rivals, where we introduce the book without any spoilers.
And speaking of spoilers, we will be spoiling all of Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows part 1 through 3. So if you haven't finished parts 1 through 3, go read. And then unfortunately we have not finished the book yet, so we'll see you next week for that. But grab your book, finish reading, and then come back and listen. That was long-winded, but we got there.
We love it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our one-sentence summaries, where we summarize each chapter we're going to go over in this episode in one sentence. In this episode, as a reminder, we are going over part 3, The Worlds in Between. Ooh, I like that little dance move. That was for our YouTube watchers.
I know. They get to see something special.
All right. Chapter 25. Iris, Tobias, and Addie are reunited with Marisol, and Iris receives the answer she was seeking from Roman's letters, and he confesses he was falling in love with her a second time.
Chapter 26. Dacre wants to know about this article writer, quote, Iris E. Winnow, who has published lies, then tells Roman to leave the typewriter behind to visit the grave of Luz. We're going to go with that pronunciation.
Yep. Chapter 27. Roman accompanies Dacre and his company to the grave of Luce, and our dear old friend Shane is back, dropping words of knowledge with every word.
Chapter 28. After the Chancellor denies the army access, including the wounded, to Oath, Tobias brings Addie and Iris home, where Iris realizes home is not the same, including when an unexpected visitor shows up at her apartment.
Our girl Sarah Prindle is back, baby! Woo-hoo! In chapter 29, and tells Iris of the happenings around Oath in her home, including the introduction of the graveyard, and helps Iris by holding up her handkerchief at just the right time.
Chapter 30. Dacre has summoned Roman to write an article in response to Iris's, but he has also asked him to do what feels impossible, to meet Iris and give her a message that states he wants her to work for him.
Chapter 31. Roman goes on an interesting adventure on the back of a wyvern until he is confronted with the familiar smell of home.
Chapter 32. The Inkredan Tribune is told to run all articles by the graveyard for approval when Iris gets an unexpected and very odd phone call from no other than Roman.
Chapter 33. Roman and Iris meet for tea under false pretenses, where Roman gives Iris 2 letters and a lot more questions.
Chapter 34. Roman has dinner with his family, trying to make it feel like old times and waiting for that night to secretly meet with Iris, and when she arrives, it is the best.
Yeah! Chapter 35. Roman sneaks Iris into his childhood bedroom, and they enjoy a night together where they share information in a shower.
Chapter 36. The dreaded goodbye comes after Iris has yet another dream, and after the sun has risen, Dacre and his crew show up and make camp at the Kit Mansion.
Chapter 37. Iris visits Addie at home, where Addie shares her secret violin and her secret man before they visit with Marisol and Keegan, while Roman exhausts himself trying to get his typewriter, and Shane drops some knowledge again.
Always. Chapter 38. Shane catches Roman as the mole, but instead of turning him into Dacre, Shane gives Roman a task to do during the event. Meanwhile, Iris has to give her answer to Dacre at the invitation-only event.
Chapter 39. Roman attends the elite gathering as a triple agent, but misses the handoff because he's distracted by Iris, and another bang happens, separating the pair once again.
Your descriptions had me laughing. I was like, I cannot laugh in the middle of these. They were so good.
You definitely can. So for our listeners, we had to take a break a little bit from recording because Keri was on vacation. She's back now.
Whoop.
But I honestly, this almost 2 weeks at this point.
It's been a while, yeah.
And I am so glad we just did that review because I was like thinking, I'm not even really sure what happened in part 3, but we're gonna do the podcast today anyways.
We definitely finished this outline like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, definitely.
And I had to review everything before we recorded because I was like, what happened? And I want the listeners to know we are so dedicated to not spoiling part 3 that we have not read part 4 in over 2 weeks. And we have been dying too. We are dedicated.
Especially because part 3 left off on such a cliffhanger.
Just dying to know. Like, I was texting Becca, like, should I read it? No, I'm gonna spoil it. If anyone knows, I'm gonna spoil. Becca has had to cut out many spoilers. So.
I've had to cut out many spoilers. I've also had some things spoiled. So.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that's okay. Anyways, part 3, Keri, what did you think?
It was amazing. As soon as we finished reading or recording part 2's episode, I went and read part 3 like that day. Like not immediately. Like I didn't like, okay, we're done recording and read. No. That same day, that night, I went and literally I think I finished part 3 that night.
I think you did.
So good. I feel like we got so majorly info dumped. It took like processing, lots of business days. But we got the reunion that I've been wanting.
Yeah.
So, yay. I loved all the info that we got from this part, how this felt like it had so much urgency, like we were just waiting to find out what happened, and I just couldn't wait. I was like, ah! But I was so excited, and yes, I will be reading part 4 when we get done this episode after work, so... Today, definitely. But Becca, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so many huge things happened in this part. We got so many info dumps. We had a lot of questions answered, but now I have even more questions, and I'm really hoping part 4 answers those for us. I think the biggest thing I wanted to talk about here was how happy and hopeful I felt during this part, because that isn't necessarily the same thing that I've been feeling in parts 1 and parts 2 of this book. With Sarah and Forrest and Addie and Tobias, they are providing us as readers with so much hope during this time of complete and utter uncertainty with Iris and Roman, with our main characters. I also loved all the info dumps, like you said, Keri. We have lots of those today for our magical moments. I'm a sucker for all those info dumps. So you can bet we will be digging into those more. And I think we just jump right in from there.
Let's do it. So we only met like one significant character for our meet cute. So we're going to talk about our guy, Bruce. So Bruce is Mr. Kit's associate, who is some security, as his nan calls it. I got to be honest, I don't quite understand his role yet. Especially after that last chapter. I don't know if so I tend to like, when I'm reading, I want the story. So I like miss a bunch that's probably important, which I like about us doing these podcasts because it makes me slow down and like take in the story. But I don't know if I missed it or like what was happening. But do you have anything to add about Bruce or any like suspicions? Like,
no, I would agree that I'm not really sure why he's there.
I feel like he's going to be important in part 4 for some reason, or just, I don't know.
Was he the same person who offered Iris the money?
I don't think we know that.
Okay.
Maybe. Could be.
I feel like Bruce is like... Go ahead.
No, he's a close associate, so he would be trusted by Mr. Kit.
Yeah, I feel like Bruce is, in the 101 Dalmatians where there's like Cruella de Vil and like the 2 henchmen. I feel like Bruce is one of the 2 henchmen.
I love that. Oh, what a great tie-in.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We'll hopefully see more Bruce in part 4.
Yes, for sure. Okay, on to our quotables. We're starting off strong in chapter 25. It says, quote, I noticed there was an asterisk next to, quote, outshine in your last letter. A typo? And I thought, so this is when obviously Iris and Roman are writing letters back and forth, and this is Iris writing to Roman, and this is giving Angelica and Hamilton.
I'm glad you brought this up because I literally thought the same thing.
Like, so for those of you who don't know, in Hamilton the musical, there's this little quote, and Angelica and Hamilton are like flirting back and forth, and she says like there was a comma. I don't want to sing because I can't sing, but there was a comma in the middle of the phrase. Did you intend this? It changed the meaning. It has consumed my waking days. It reads, my dearest Angelica, with a comma after dearest. It reads, my dearest Angelica. Anyways, all this to say. So you got a little bit of my singing. Sorry, listeners. But this so basically, Angelica and Hamilton are flirting in this part. She's like, you changed the meaning of the sentence by moving a comma, even though it really like was just a little typo. And I felt like this is exactly what happened in like this letter, because we learned later it was a typo. Well, it wasn't really a typo. It was a forgotten like sub note that Roman was supposed to complete or include, and he didn't. But I just read this and I was like, immediately, here we are with Angelica and Hamilton.
Rebecca Ross, are you a Hamilton fan? I would love you even more. I'm sure she is. She seems to love everything we love. Yeah.
Okay.
So our next quotable is from chapter 26. It says, quote, but now that I remember who I was before, it seems his magic has lost a few threads of its power. So this is when Roman he's feeling so much pain, which I kept forgetting throughout the story. Like, and I appreciated that Rebecca Ross reminded us throughout this book that he was still in pain. Like we saw this at the end of Divine Rivals where Forrest is in pain and he's bleeding, but like he's not dying, but he's still in pain. So I think that's going to be important for Roman moving on. But this makes me very worried for him, which he also we get his thought process about how he also is worried, like how long can he live like this, if he even can live like this. So it worries me because we only know of Forrest right now, who also is in that same situation, and we don't know how long Forrest and both Roman and Forrest can last without Dacre's magic, if they can even last without it. So it makes me really nervous, and I don't know how that magic will, like how Dacre's magic actually works, and if that will make his life shorter and more painful. But I feel like Roman can tough it through for Iris. I hope.
Yeah, I think that brings up a really good point of like, I talk about pain a little bit later, but there's like he is in so much pain and he's still doing all these things to protect Iris. That's selfless right there. Like he doesn't know if he's going to be able to continue to live, but he's still protecting Iris.
We love him.
Yeah.
Something to watch out for in part 4. But our next quotable is from chapter 26. This is when they're at Lou's grave. We're going to go with that pronunciation. I just got the audiobook on Libby, so there may be an update in the next episode. I'm going to listen.
Let us know. I've always said loose.
Like, loose?
Yeah.
That's probably right. I don't know. We're going to go for it. But we do find out they're the god of harvest and rain, which we probably know before, but I just forgot. So Dacre says that this seems quite useless, wouldn't you agree? So this made me feel a certain way. It made me feel like Dacre wasn't the good guy here. So like we had been talking about, is he good? Is he bad? We've got a lot of confirmations that he's probably not a good guy here in this part. Like we know he's gonna be the bad guy here.
Yes.
But he seems to be either trapping Roman or he's actually thinking that these things aren't important. I don't know. This whole chapter was just crazy to me. We learned so much about Luce, right? I don't know. I can't say words, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. I wonder, so we learn in this section, because we learn in this section that the killing the other gods is what gives the god who kills the other person the power.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if Luce has more power than just being the god of harvest and rain.
I like that theory.
Like, there's only 5 left, and there used to be hundreds. So I feel like that kind of the 5 left were obviously the most ruthless or the most intelligent.
I see what you did
So,
there.
oh yeah. I obviously did not intend to do that.
Sure. Just kidding.
No, but they're obviously like there's a reason that they're still around. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that this is like confirming like I think that means that Luce probably has more powers than just the harvest and rain.
I hope we get to meet this one.
Luce?
Yeah.
He's dead.
He is?
Yeah.
Dead or awake, I thought. We'll talk about this in our next in a couple quotables.
Okay. I thought Enva killed Luce.
I don't know.
Cuz
Do we want to do that quotable real quick?
no.
Okay.
We gotta stay in chronological order, Keri.
Wait, they're both 27.
Oh. No.
It's
It's fine.
Go ahead.
Okay. So my next quotable. This recording today is a real special one.
We haven't talked in a while, so this is what happens.
Whew. Okay, chapter 27. There is always pain and healing, the lieutenant interrupted. To fully avoid it is impossible. So this is when the Shane, this comes from a Shane
of course.
again. And this is when they're in the back of the lorry driving to the grave. So I just really loved this quote because this is so true. And I think this is applicable to both mental and physical healing, right? So we have, for those of you who don't know, which is probably all of you, because I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast before, my dog, my beautiful, wonderful dog, Friday, she ran into the side of my leg in September, maybe early September, maybe late August, and broke my tibia. Now it was just a fracture. It wasn't like my leg was like broken, but she broke it and it hurt so bad, but it like got really stiff. And I went to PT, and PT for the first like probably 3 or 4 weeks hurt because I had to stretch my knee out. I had to build the muscle up, and like I had to put myself through that pain in order to actually heal my knee fully and get the muscles around it to be where it was before I had this injury. So like there's that physical pain and healing, right? But there's also that mental pain and healing and like therapy. And like it's hard to go to therapy and like dig into the pain that you're feeling and the trauma that you've experienced, and it hurts before it gets better. But you have to know that it's going to hurt before it gets better. So I love that Shane is this crazy, like, we don't really know how we feel about him yet. He's a lot of info dumps, which makes him one of my favorite characters, but it's because I'm a sucker for those info dumps. But like, I love that he is a very morally gray character, I feel like, but I love that he gives us this little piece of like real world advice.
You gotta love Shane with his magnificent drops.
What a time.
Speaking of, he says, here we're gonna talk about this god thing real quick with Luz. So he says, when a human kills a god, this is Roman. When a human kills a god, Roman said, they simply die. Their immortality comes to an end. And then later on, Shane adds, as does their magic. So question, we don't want the gods dead, right? Like, we don't, if he's harvest and rain, then they wouldn't be able to have crops, they wouldn't be able to eat, they wouldn't have any food. So that's why I think he's alive or just awake.
Okay.
But we learn a lot of history on why the King of Cambria, I think that's how you say it, wanted the 5 divines buried instead of killed. So I think he wanted the magic to persist, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm wondering if this is going to continue to happen, if they're going to bury the gods again. Like, what's the future of this country right now? Like, I'm a little nervous for them. But I don't know. There's just so much we don't know, and I hope we get more. But what are your thoughts right now about those?
So I don't think that Luce dying would mean that they wouldn't have rain or harvest again. I think it's that he controls the rain and controls the harvest.
Okay.
So, for example, Dacra is the god of vitality and healing. But just because he is the god of vitality and healing doesn't mean that other people like can't heal normally. So I think like the god, like Luce being the god of harvest and rain, I couldn't remember for a second. Luce being the god of harvest and rain doesn't mean that like it just him being dead and losing that power just would mean that it would happen normally like it does like in this non-fantasy world. Like it would still rain, they would still have a harvest. It just wouldn't be as potentially fruitful, or it wouldn't be as potentially like controlled, like knowing that it was going to happen.
See, I took it as that there would be no more harvest or rain, or it would all die or something like that. I'll have to go back and read that part because I feel like Roman was like had a similar thought as me, and maybe that's where I got it. Or maybe I just sped through the parts just so I could find out what happened. I don't know.
Well, in your last quotable, Dacra does say like it's a pretty useless magic, and Roman does say, well, no, that's an important magic for the humans. So I think you're right. Like Roman acknowledges that it's an important magic, but I don't think. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm interested to see.
I never really thought about that. That's such a good question.
I also, if Luz is awake, are any of our characters Luz that we know?
Well, remember, I thought it was Lucy. I thought it was Marisol's sister, but Luce is a dude, I think.
They said they, so I don't know, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I should have looked this up.
I don't remember.
Something to keep in mind. I know.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that's okay.
Anyways, okay. Chapter 28. Infiltrate. Iris nearly breathed fire at that word. So
that was really took me off guard there. I love that.
Oh.
Really breathing fire into the mic. I love it.
Oh. You're welcome. No. So this is when the forces are coming back from Hawkshire, and the Chancellor makes them all park out and like stay outside the city limits of Oath. Man, it has been a long time.
That's okay.
I couldn't even remember.
You're in a whole new world right now.
I'm in a whole new world. Okay, anyways, the Chancellor just denies entry to Enva's forces and says, we don't need your forces infiltrating the city. And Iris is like, infiltrate? What are you talking about, infiltrate? I don't know what that means. Like, what are you talking about? We're trying to protect the city, blah, blah, blah. But it says Iris nearly breathed fire at that word. So we've talked before about Roman is ice. We talked about that in depth pretty much at the end of Divine Rivals. Is this confirmation that Iris is fire?
I feel like she's dropped this very subtly. So I feel like yes.
I feel like too. I'm
always a big fan of fire. There was in chapter 25, Roman says, I would love to see your words catch fire with mine. Too. So maybe.
Yeah, maybe. The next one, chapter 28, I don't really have a lot of notes on. I just wanted to highlight because I thought it was a good quote. Again, kind of similar to Shane's little "There's always pain in healing." This says, Marisol smiled. I want you to remember that you have already flown through a strong storm, and as most of us have here, and a little rain from the Chancellor won't unsettle us now. So it's just like confirmation. Like,
Rain, strong storm, lose. Now I'm pointing out everything.
I don't know.
I think Rebecca Yaros has ruined me with reading. I think I said this last episode too. It's fine.
I have no idea. But yeah, anyways, Marisol just dropping a little encouragement. I love it. Okay. Chapter 29. I love this. I'm so excited.
Made me
about
literally
this.
giggle when I read this.
Me too. Okay, chapter 29. It's okay, Prindle, Iris said. Truly, I take it you and my brother are an item now. Gotta give credit to Iris for her reaction. The best reaction we could have hoped for from her.
Oh, yeah.
Very
very
okay, this
Iris.
is happening. Yes. Very okay, this is happening. We're here for it. Okay.
She's like, I don't hate this.
I don't hate it.
Need to process this, but
we're here,
I'm here for it.
Okay. Also, Prindle is the perfect friend for your brother. Like, can we just talk about that? Like,
yes.
If anybody, maybe Addie, but Addie's a little bit too much of a spitfire and I think too close to Iris.
Mm-hmm.
But Prindle, Sarah Prindle, perfect. Perfect amount of closeness, perfect character, perfect person to bring Forrest out of his funk.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Prindle was the one to do that. I don't think Iris would have been able to do that because she's too close to the situation. But I love that Sarah Prindle was able to like do that and get him out of the funk. I just really loved that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this quote, which I think shows like this is not just a one-way relationship. It says, and that's how it began. I find it easy to talk with him, mainly because he is such a good listener, but he remembers everything I say, and no one has ever really done that before. Be still my heart. Like, I love that.
Forrest and Sarah, just perfect.
I love it.
I did not see that coming.
Me neither.
Like, normally I'm like, oh, that'd be so cute. But I did not see that coming.
Me neither.
It makes sense, though. So good.
It does.
I just love this relationship.
Me too.
Good. Do you have anything else you want to say on that?
Nope.
Okay. So, chapter 30. This is when Dacra has read Iris's article. Mm-hmm. And he's telling Roman, I would like to steal her from my wife. I would like Iris E. Winnow writing for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't fully understand why he needs her other than to take her away from Enva and like for the support of like taking her away from writing about Enva and against him. I was super shocked by this. I would think he would want her dead.
Okay.
And I also thought she would say yes so that she could be with Roman. And I just applaud her bravery.
Interesting.
I thought that would be how they end up together forever, you know? Like, not forever, but like...
forever.
Chilling in the underworld, but together.
That's so interesting. So I think you have to remember Dacra is a lover scorned. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he necessarily needs Iris. I think he just wants like Enva to not have her, basically. So I
like
think
a
it's
child.
Basically. So I think it's less about him needing her and more you have something I want and I want it back. Like I want it because you have it type thing.
That's true. I don't know. He's just annoying me.
Aww.
But I also thought like Rebecca Ross would take us down that road. So I was very happy and surprised that that's not the road we went down. Like that it wasn't going to be a story of them fighting against Dacra from inside. Like I thought that was going to be super predictable. So I'm really glad she didn't take us down that road, but I expected it because I was like, oh, it's just going to be cheesy and da da da. But I'm very satisfied with my care so far. Thank you, Rebecca Ross.
No, that's so funny. I don't even think I thought she was going to do it. So I'm satisfied with my care too, but I was satisfied because I was glad she didn't.
Yeah, I was very glad she didn't.
Yeah, but I didn't think she was going to, I guess. Yeah. Okay, chapter 31. How did you know when to tell the Ethereal to land? There were no markers, no way of knowing where we were. And then Val says, there's always a way of knowing, Val answered, if one pays attention. So this feels very ominous, but also like a throwaway line that's going to come back later. So either someone else is paying attention to Roman, or Roman will need to know this information later, or this is a reference to Enva, since remember, based on the epilogue, she was looking for a door and might be in the underground again. There's a lot going on here, and this feels very ominous. I also think this is like, I loved the scene with Val because I had so many questions about him at the end of Divine Rivals, and we did not get to see him until chapter 31. So I really like that.
Oh, so good. Chapter 33, it says, and yet when their gazes met over the bustle and noise, the entire world faded away. It was only him and her. And this reminded me so much of the scene in Pride and Prejudice from Bingley's Ball in the movie where they're dancing and it just ends up being them. Like there's all these people and it's just so sweet. And I'm a sucker for this type of imagery. And I know Rebecca Ross probably had that in mind because who wouldn't?
Yes.
But I just love that it just feels like it's just them. All the chaos in the world doesn't matter. It's just them. I love it.
This is a pretty frequent line in fantasy books.
And
I eat it up every single time.
Every time. I don't care what book it's in. If it feels like just you and them, yes, I'm here for it.
Here for it.
That should be a trope in itself because I
think it is. I think it's like a subtrope because then there's the who did this to you. Okay. Chapter 33. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say anything else about that?
No. That's perfect. Okay. Go.
Chapter 33 again. Yes, perfect. Established timeline. He dared to glance up, meeting her stare as he handed her a cup. This scene was so fun to read. I loved that Iris picked up on something so quickly and wanted to let Roman know she understood that she picked something up and they had to be careful. And under what pretense are we meeting here? Which I loved. I also loved that Roman saw the doubt in her eyes and he remembered the whole time. And he saw the doubt that was showing in her eyes that maybe he didn't remember her anymore, but he did. And he said, you look just as I remember you. And it was just like that little, like, I do remember you. It's okay. Like, here we are.
So sweet.
But can we please talk about how we tend to read books where the characters don't remember each other, and the little I remember you is so important. Like this is because wasn't there one in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? No, I think that one maybe have been like I See You.
Yeah, I think it was I See You.
But anyways,
definitely
at least
an Addie.
Yep.
That was like one of the most big lines.
I think we talked about that for almost the whole podcast episode. Okay. Chapter 34. The house is nothing but drafts these days, Nan had muttered, tossing a scrap of ham to the dog. I just need to say here that I love Nan so much, and I want her to be my Nan. And I love how she calls out Mr. Kit, even though she doesn't really know what's going on, but she knows something's going on. And she just maybe knows something's going on and doesn't want anybody else to know it, but like she calls him out, and I just love that so much because she has no shame and she's fearless and wonderful, and I just love her.
She's amazing. She's such a grandma too, like tossing a scrap of ham to the dog, like with no care,
100%,
saying something sassy and like, yeah, here you go.
100%. We love our sassy grandmas.
We do. We have a lot of sassy grandmas.
A lot.
Grandmam. We have
Estelle.
Yeah. Now we have
Nan.
Love it. Love it. So chapter 34, and if Enva won, the kits would be branded as traitors. So I think this is what having proof of Roman helping is going to help later. So we talked about this, I think, last episode or the episode before, that how he can be branded as a traitor or not as a traitor based on how he's been helping. So I think this furthered my argument from last week that we had a little bit with the burning, not burning of the original letter.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if it'll be as big of a deal. We'll see. I feel like it has to be, but that's okay.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know.
We'll see. We don't need to get back into that.
Okay. Chapter 34. It was 12 past 11 when he finally heard a branch snap. This is reminiscent of when Roman was 7 minutes late to breakfast and he went running one morning in Avalon Bluff and everybody was waiting on him and everybody was getting so antsy and whatever. And here he is waiting on Iris and getting so antsy, and oh, how the tables have turned.
Yes. I love that scene.
Me too.
Their whole reunion was just perfect.
So good.
So precious.
Amazing.
Well, it's chapter 35. Speaking of, there is no magic above or below that will ever steal this from me again. So I think this is becoming a theme. We've talked about this quite a bit in the last 2 episodes, where their mortal bond is stronger than any divine magic. And then this quote, and this gives me hope that maybe we will have a happy ending for Roman and Iris. I'm nervous. I don't know. I haven't read anything else by Rebecca Ross, so I don't know if she is into killing her main characters like Veronica Roth. So I hope not. I don't think she will be, but you always have to be prepared because I was traumatized by Veronica Roth.
Can we talk about how actually we were traumatized by that?
Very.
Like, the way I cannot even read the 3rd book in the Divergent series.
I read the 3rd book, but I stop after their night together before the next day and all that happens. And then
that's smart.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, happy ending.
That's smart. No, I can't even read the 3rd book. I also really disliked how they said there was the implication that Four and Christina were gonna end up together.
Gross.
No.
Stop.
Unacceptable. Four needs to sit in his mourning for the rest of his life.
Dang.
Just like we have to.
Yeah. Anyways.
I think Veronica Roth comes out with a new book this week. I think it's this week. We'll have to look at it.
I don't trust her.
Well.
That's okay.
Speaking of authors we don't trust, Rebecca Yarros is not known for her happily ever afters, so I'm real worried over here about that one too.
We're just worried.
We're a big ball of stress right now.
Rebecca Ross, don't let us down.
Rebecca Yarros.
No, Ross for this book.
Oh, yes. Rebecca Ross.
Rebecca Yarros has already let us down in 4th Wing, so I don't even care.
That's true.
Rest in peace.
That's all we'll say. If you haven't read 4th Wing, we're not going to tell you, but
just go read it. It's worth it.
Go read it. So good. Okay.
We have gotten on many tangents. Let's keep going.
So many tangents. I'm loving this episode. This is fun.
Me too.
Okay, chapter 37. All morning, Roman had watched as Dacre tore some pages out, tossing them to burn in the fire. Pages of myths that could never be reclaimed. Pages that Dacre didn't like because their ink limned his true nature. This line alone made me think Dacre was the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked earlier about what was the line that made you think he was the bad guy?
Wow, I can't even remember. My memory has been horrible. This morning, I opened up the pantry and forgot what I came in for.
Hey, I do that all the time. That's normal, I feel like.
I think, it was with the god of harvest and rain, saying that seems quite useless.
Yes. So this one was that for me because he's tearing out all the pages because they make him look bad.
I
And
got so angry at him. I was like, I hate you.
well, not even that, but like, how dare you burn books?
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
it. That's the tweet. How dare you burn books?
Quote, retweet.
Oh, man.
Yes. Don't burn books.
Don't
Donate
burn books.
them.
Yeah. I don't know, Keri, I don't know if you have this, but we have little like free libraries around the city where I live, and where you can like donate them. It's like take a book, leave a book, and they're just like, there's one by I take Friday on walks around like schools in the area, and there's one by one of the schools that we walk at, and I should really donate more to them. I always look and I always forget to like bring them when we go buy them. But
I do too. There's one by the golf course Jesse goes to. And I was like, oh, how cute. Okay. Chapter 37. There we go.
37, yes.
37. So it's Shane. He said, I know you're the mole correspondent. And I already texted Becca this, but I want everyone to know I was right. I knew that this part and the chapter 38 is that I was right. I just wanted that on the record. Like, he was a double agent, and I knew it.
You were right, and I was totally wrong.
It's okay.
And I fully accept that because I was very, very wrong.
It's okay.
And
he's our info dump guy. And I had a feeling. Our complicated matcha boy.
You did.
So,
our
here we are.
Complicated matcha boy. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Back to Shane again. Chapter 38. That isn't your concern, Shane countered, but you will need to be quick about it without Dacre or his other officers noticing. There will be a man wearing a red anemone pinned to his label in the crowd. This envelope needs to be handed directly to him. Once you do that, leave the courtyard immediately.
An anemone.
Okay.
Sorry.
First of all, I'm sorry, what? Keri was right, and Shane is a CD character. Apparently, I came to these, like, right after you did. Like, these conclusions. I needed, apparently, solid proof.
That's okay. That's our personalities in a nutshell.
Yes. But, oh my goodness, does he know how to have a mic drop moment? Here in my notes, I said I wasn't surprised that Shane was a double agent, but I was surprised. So I don't know why I said that, because I fought pretty hard that he wasn't. So
I probably planted that seed a little bit for you.
You definitely did, but silly previous Becca. No, I was surprised. But I said, nor was I surprised that he knew Roman was the mole, but I was surprised to learn his connection to the graveyard.
That was surprising.
That was
a triple agent type of
literally
vibes.
A triple agent, which was crazy. And I saw when he said like the red anemone, I was like, my jaw dropped. For those of you who are not watching YouTube, my jaw dropped and I gasped. I was like, it's the graveyard. So I wonder if he's like some kind of leader in the graveyard, or I don't really know, but very interesting. So ominous.
Apparently, I didn't know oh my gosh, an anemone is a flower in the buttercup family. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a ocean something.
An anemone.
Nemo.
No, remember we see earlier that like their calling card is the anemone flower petals.
That's true. Whoa, I didn't even catch that. Mind blown. I'm gonna need 2 to 3 business days to process that.
You do that. Okay. Chapter 39, our last quotable today, says, I don't even think it's a quote. Oh, actually, I think it is a direct quote. It says, Roman missed the handoff.
Frick that
Roman!
guy.
I wanted to yell at him for missing the handoff. I get it. You were distracted by Iris. All of us probably would be. How you described her was basically she was stunning and all the eyes should have been on her anyways. But missing the handoff was literally the one thing you could not do. You had one job, literally one job, and you didn't do it. And now we don't know if Iris is dead or not because there was a big bang, a big explosion. And we don't know anything because we have yet to read part 4. So
you're welcome, listeners.
Man.
And future Becca for not having to take out all the spoilers I would accidentally drop.
Yes, that would have been very bad.
It's okay. All right, those are our quotables. So let's go into sipping tea with our characters. We're only going to talk about Bruce. So did you have one for Bruce?
I didn't. I don't I feel like I didn't really know Bruce enough to talk about his tea.
Yeah, I said he was one of those new spicy refreshers from Starbucks because I think he's gonna not be everyone's cup of tea. No pun intended.
No, no, I would agree with that.
But I do, in this part, we need to talk about this. We get an actual tea order or drink preference from Roman here.
Okay.
And this is from Iris, and I quote, "You prefer coffee, not tea. Although I saw you drink it enough times at the Gazette, and you only put a spoonful of honey or sugar, no milk." So I feel like I was wrong. So he's more of a sugar, less milk guy.
But he's a coffee guy. I thought we had already established that.
We did, but we didn't get how he drinks his tea.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah.
But then we also get that Iris takes her tea with a lot of milk for sustenance.
Yes.
And Iris and Sarah both took their tea with honey and cream at the apartment.
Yes.
So we got some tea orders unintentionally.
I love it.
Great
job. Great pulls.
Thanks. I was highlighting away at my Kindle.
I love it.
That's sipping tea.
All right. So we got so much information in this section here.
So excited for this part.
So much information. So bear with me today because our magical moments section is going to be pretty long. I think I said that last episode and it was the longest that I've done. And I think this is also the longest that I've done. So we're just continually setting new records and I'm here for it. So
that's okay.
We have
it's
a lot
all
to
Rebecca
get to.
Ross's fault.
That's true. So let's just get into it. Okay, so one of the first things we learn in part 3 is about the gods' magic, which we've kind of talked a little bit about before. We get an info dump from our guy, Shane, who gives Roman a crash course. Basically, when humans kill a god, that god's magic vanishes completely. However, when a god kills another god, that god absorbs the other's magic, meaning that it doesn't vanish. However, that means one god is more powerful. There are a couple things that we can pull from this specifically. So first, in the last part, we got the story from Dacre about Myrrh when he came home and had the new power of reading people's minds. Roman even calls back to what Dacre said about things don't stop the gods of finding a way to get more power. Obviously, this is why Dacre was looking for Luce's grave to take the magic of Luce, which he did not get because, remember, he was so angry. Which we do get the confirmation of Luce's power is the power of rain and harvest, which is something that Dacre thinks is frivolous, which Roman disagrees. But we've already talked about that a lot in this episode, so
whoopsies.
Oh, no, that's fine. The second thing I think we can pull from here is a quote from the prologue where Enva thinks she's not afraid of the other gods waking up. Based on Dacre's reaction and Roman's theorizing, we can assume that Enva killed the other gods and has their power. Sorry, Keri.
It's okay. It's okay.
We may just have to agree to disagree here.
It's okay. I'm not it's not a hill I'm gonna die on. That was my theory.
Okay.
I have no substantial proof.
Okay.
I'm here for it. I'm here for whatever happens. I'm okay with Enva
You're along
them.
for the ride.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want her to kill people if that's who we're supposed to be rooting for.
I think I'm just rooting for Iris and Roman. And Addie and oh my gosh.
Tobias.
Yeah. And Sarah and Forrest.
Same. Okay. Back to this. As Roman states, rain and harvest is important to the mortals because of the food that comes from it, but with Enva killing the other gods, or what we can assume that happened, this brings me back to me really not being sure of which side of the war I'm supposed to be rooting for. Haha, I think we're not supposed to know. I think we're just supposed to be rooting for Roman and Iris.
I'm okay with that.
Speaking of not knowing who we're supposed to root for, we get more information from none other than Shane. Shocker.
Shocker.
Who tells Roman basically that Dacre asks if he needs to be healed again to determine if his memories are coming back at all. I thought that was really interesting. We talked a little bit about this earlier, so I won't mention too much here, but it's just another thing that has me questioning who we're supposed to be rooting for in this war. The other option that we're leaning towards is that we aren't supposed to be rooting for the gods at all, and maybe the graveyard is actually going to be the people we're rooting for, but I doubt the graveyard is like all good. Anyways, all that to say is this is not a good look for Dacre.
Yeah. I think the graveyard won't be. It's like that bad third party government type vibe.
Yeah.
So they give me yucky vibes. But we'll see. We never know.
I would agree. Okay. So moving away from Shane's info dumps, we have a few more pieces of information that Roman learns in this stretch of chapters. So let's talk about what we learn about the Ethereals, the wyvern. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
First, they are controlled by music. This was especially interesting to me because music is typically something we associate with Enva. We also get confirmation that these Ethereals are captives, and this makes me think of the story that Marisol told Iris about the nightingales and how they hated being in the cages. So we constantly are getting this theme of being trapped in a cage and wanting to get out and all those things. I don't know if that's going to come up later or not, but could be.
Hopefully.
Maybe. Secondly, they are controlled by music, but I'm curious if they actually were Enva's before and were stolen, or if they were always controlled by music previously. Also, how did they learn which notes to play to control them? I have so many questions here that I'm hoping we get answers to in part 4, but that one specifically, I'm not really holding my breath to get an answer on. But
yeah,
I feel like that may have just been a plot device, but we'll see.
Maybe. I did not catch that they were controlled by music. I completely missed that. That's crazy. Maybe with Dacre being like so like what you have I want type of vibes, I'm sure that he stole them.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? The funny part about the whole ethereal scene to me was how much Val was giving Hagrid vibes. Yes, I'm making a Harry Potter reference.
I'm so proud of you. You're coming so far.
For those of you who don't know, I am currently reading through Harry Potter for the first time as somebody in my late 20s, mid 20s. I'm not giving myself late 20s yet. We're in the mid 20s.
You're mid 20s. I consider myself late 20s, although I'm a year older-ish.
Anyways, but I just finished book 3, and it's when Buckbeak is saved.
Buckbeak. So. I love him.
Anyways, but when Val is explaining to Roman how to approach the ethereal, he's explaining to keep walking slowly and steadily and to follow his approach to its left side. This is definitely similar to when Hagrid is explaining to Harry how to get close to Buckbeak. As a reminder to listeners, I already said this, but that's okay. As a reminder to listeners, I did just finish book 3 of Harry Potter. So right now I love Hagrid and I don't know any different, but Val is certainly not as lovable of a character as Hagrid was. Yeah. I also have a feeling based on the love the fandom has for Hagrid that he should be a lovable character. So we're going to go with that.
I guess you'll have to see.
I guess so. Next, we learn about the ley lines from Roman and get further insight from Keegan. We get confirmation that there are ley lines all the way to Oath. Obviously, we get Dacre showing up at the kits, but Keegan brings up the B&B. The B&B is confirmed to be on top of the door to the underworld, which we already knew, and it does not fall during the bombing of Avalon Bluff. As Keegan mentions, it's Dacre's magic working against itself, but she brings up that the buildings on the ley lines are probably more secure against any bombings that might happen in Oath, but they are a double-edged sword because they have doors inside them, so they could be dangerous for they could withstand the magic issues, but they could possibly have the armies coming through the doors. So
yeah. Ugh, that's so sketchy. It's like nowhere safe for them.
yeah, definitely. Lastly, we get confirmation of the music that is in Iris's dream, which I have been asking so many questions about.
Finally.
I know, finally. So not only is Iris dreaming of it, but Addie is now dreaming of it too. And it's Alzane's. We're gonna go with that.
Yeah,
Alzane's lullaby. And we get a little background story about this lullaby, and it says Alzane was the king at the time of the gods' graves being dug, and presumably the one who made the deal with Enva to play the other gods to sleep. The song that was playing was Alzane's lullaby. What's important here is that since that time, there have been many iterations of the lullaby, but it's important to play the original, which is the correct one, to actually play the gods back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, going to be a big part of part 4 is Addie looking for the original or finding the original iteration of Alzane's lullaby. We also don't know if a human playing the lullaby would actually lull a god to sleep. It's also interesting to me. Addie says they need to find the correct iteration, but it's interesting because she says the one in the dream is the correct one, but the one in the dream, every time Iris starts listening to it is when the world falls apart in her dream. So it's very interesting. I'm wondering if that's not really the correct one.
Or if
I feel
it
like
is
it
the
has
correct
to
one.
be.
And that's just what's happening.
Yeah, but her mom is in the dreams. I don't know. Anyways.
So many questions.
So many questions. Addie does go on to say that it might be possible for humans to play the song and put them to sleep. I'm curious if something like this happens to end the war. Either way, I love that Addie brings this specific piece of knowledge into the story because I love that it came from her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just love that.
Not Shane.
Yeah, basically. I just love that, like, it was like, we have already established that she's our musical expert in this book, so I really liked that piece came from her because it was already an established piece of information, so we could trust her, you know?
Yeah. Do we think that she's gonna be the one to play, since she's like one of the few that we know of, if not the only one that has a musical instrument?
Ooh.
And she's getting the dream, so maybe Enva is giving her, like, both of them the actual lullaby?
Yeah.
Because she knows that Addie has a musical instrument?
Maybe. That's a good idea.
I feel like that'd be pretty expected, but I'm down for that.
I like it.
Addie being the hero, I would be down for that.
Do you find, since doing this podcast, you anticipate endings a lot more?
Yeah.
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 Same.
It's okay. I'm here for it.
But I love it. I love it. I mean, that's something I've always kind of done. I feel like I've just gotten a little bit better about it. But
yeah.
Anyways, that's it for our magical moments today. Mm-hmm. Thank you for staying with me. That was a ton of information and a very long time. So thank you.
It was great. I feel like I did not catch like half of that. So I'm glad that you're doing the magical moments section.
I love doing it. It's so fun.
Good. Because I probably would think of that as like research and not be sad.
See, that's what I love doing though.
That's why we work well together.
Exactly. All right. Well, listeners, thank you so much for listening to us today. If you liked today's episode, please rate and review us wherever you listen to our podcast. This is a huge way to help us out. Also, the best thing you can do for us or any other podcast you listen to is to share us with your friends. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe as well. That helps us out a lot too. If you've been trying to get your friends to read Divine Rivals, Letters of Enchantment, both of these books, this is the perfect opportunity for y'all to read through this together. Stay tuned next week for when we finish Ruthless Vows.
I'm so sad it's over.
It's not over yet. We haven't finished the book yet.
I know. It will be probably by the end of the day, but
that's true.
But for more content, make sure to go follow us on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Tomes and Tropes Pod. Or if you have thoughts about this episode or this book, email us at tomesandtropespod@gmail.com or PM us on Instagram or TikTok. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on what happened to Roman and Iris, what Mr. Kit is really up to, because we got Bruce taking away Roman over there. And
Bruce.
Then what you think about Luz. Is he dead? Is he alive? Whose side are you on here? No need to
Mine.
pick, but you should be on
Becca's
anyone's
side.
I don't really care. You can be on mine or hers. I don't care. But anyways.
Well, now I feel like a jerk.
No. You're not. It was fun. I like it. It's okay. You're not a jerk. But we will see you next week for part 4 of Ruthless Vows.
Stay curious and keep reading.
Bye.
Bye.